I died peacefully in my sleep, a life of monotony after all. Not every woman can live as flamboyantly as a princess. Only after my death did I realize that my entire life had been a joke. Chapter 2. I am Madame Shen, the old lady of the Shen family, passed away on the second day of my 50-year birthday. I left this world with a smile. I have spent this life living in wealth and nobility, in a secluded inner courtyard, dull yet safe. I am content. Sia grabs my hand and kneels at my bed, crying bitterly. Even though he is now past his 30, holding a third-rank official position, in my eyes he remains a child. Where is Jiyu Mingyuan? Shen Huayan hesitated for a moment, then choked out, father is already on his way back. I married Jiyu Mingyuan when we were young, and we have always treated each other with respect. He was busy with official duties and rarely came home. At first, I would cry alone in silence, but later I came to terms with it. He never took a single concubine, nor had any children born of concubines. He respects and loves me, and he struggles outside to hold up the sky for the Shen family. How could I act like a petty, unreasonable girl? Hearing Shen Huayan's reply, I looked toward the door. In my final moments, I wanted to see him, to say goodbye in person, to thank him for a lifetime by my side. May we be able to continue our fated bond in the next life as well. But in the end, I never saw him. I died suddenly, still gazing toward the doorway at the moment of death. Chapter 3. My soul drifted out of my body, gazing down at Shen Huayan crying. I wanted to pat him, to tell him not to cry, but I could not touch him. Suddenly I heard him say, although you are not my mother, treat me as a child, and I will bury you with great reverence. That short sentence made my already trembling hand stiffen. He is the son I carried for 10 months, born after a life-and-death struggle. As for me, a member of the Shen clan's women, after death I will enter the Shen family hall. And there is no need for an elaborate burial. I drifted toward the outer room and saw Jiyu Mingyuan sitting in the hall, with his eyes lowered. His clothes were neat, not wearing official robes, not looking like someone who had just hurried back. I have a vague sense of something. The servant came over and told him, Madam has died. He responded with a sound of acknowledgement, waved his hand to let someone go, but did not get up to look at me. Either he is no longer young, his temples already streaked with gray. I stood blankly in front of him, staring at that familiar face, which suddenly felt strange. After a moment, he murmured to himself, if only Ninghua could have lived as long as you. At the words Ninghua, I was thunderstruck. Princess Ninghua. Every sheltered young woman had heard her name. Some admire her, some envy her, and some scoff at her behind her back. But she truly is different. She is the child born to the consort of the empress during the war between the former emperor and the Qin state, born in the camp, raised among the army, and later even ventured to the south and north in a woman's body. There are more men who admire her than can be counted, among them even my husband. If it weren't for my mother insisting I marry you and betray Ninghua, she wouldn't have rushed away to the front lines, fallen ill, and later died in childbirth. It is you who wronged Ninghua. Raising Huayan is also a way to atone for your crime. The chill in the chest spread to the whole body. There were rumors in her early years that the princess was unmarried and pregnant, but it eventually faded away. I never expected that it was true, that her child was the Shen Huayan who I raised with my own hands. What is there for me not to understand? I don't care who he loves. I just want to grab his throat and demand, where is my child? The eldest princess never married in her life. He swapped the real for the fake, just to let the princess's illegitimate child live rightly and with a clear path ahead. What about my child? In the following days, I followed him, hoping to uncover the truth. He had long since secretly placed Ninghua's memorial tablet inside the Shen family ancestral hall. I watched as Jiyu Mingyuan hastily had my body collected and then discarded on a potter's field. Shen Huayan wanted to stop it, but in the end only his lips moved. This is the son I have cherished for a lifetime. Bury her here. It can be considered a reunion for them, mother and daughter. For a moment, my mind went completely blank. Shen Huayan looked at Jiyu Mingyuan in shock, seemingly surprised that he could be so heartless toward his own daughter. Jiyu Mingyuan said, she's nothing but a bastard. I have never shared a bed with her. How could I ever touch someone who caused Ninghua's death? Chapter 4. I have drifted along with Jiyu Mingyuan for many years, watching him sit quietly and look into the distance, longing for Ninghua, watching him and Shen Huyan worship Ninghua, watching him call her my wife, Shen Huyan address her as mother, and before my tomb there is no tomb, no name, overgrown with weeds, my yard has been sealed off, and my name Shen Jiao is no longer spoken of. I have tried to leave many times, but I seem to be trapped here. From the early hysteria and vicious curses to later calm despair, Jiyu Mingyuan finally inched toward the end of life right before my eyes. The Shen clan kin who came to visit lamented that he had never taken a concubine in his life for my sake. After I hadn't visited for several years, his worries were so great that he would have left anyway. I found it ridiculous. Shen Huayan said that he would certainly be buried with Ninghua. You have given too much for your mother. If she were aware in the underworld, she would not bear you any more. For the years I drifted as a soul, I came to know many things. The eldest princess was not a devoted lover, and Shen Huayan was not her own flesh and blood, yet he was able to go this far for her. Jiyu Mingyuan seemed about to say something, but in the end, he never had the chance to get the words out before he breathed his last. I watched it all, unmoved. Suddenly, I heard someone call my name, Qingwan. Standing before me was the spectral form of Jiyu Mingyuan. He had regained the handsome looks of his youth. When he saw me, his gaze trembled slightly as he reached out his hand toward me. Instinctively, I took a step back. Suddenly, he realized what it was. Have you been, all these years? He is the head of the Shen family, a young prime minister. How clever he is, and how capable of deception. Before he could do anything else, my soul began to fade away. I am finally free. All hatred has nowhere left to go, only hope that in the afterlife we shall not meet again. I cast one last glance at Jiyu Mingyuan, who leaped toward me, and without hesitation, I turned away in disgust. Chapter 5. Fate sure knows how to toy with people. I had somehow returned to the time before Jiyu Mingyuan came to propose. Flowers blossom and wither in the courtyard. My mind is full of thoughts, so it turns out I have lived my whole life as a joke. My cold and upright husband guards himself for Princess Ninghua, letting a guard do his conjugal duties in his place. Thinking of my own daughter whom I have never met, I shed 2 lines of tears. In this life, she is likely to have no connection with this world either. If I had to do it all over again, I would not marry Jiyu Mingyuan, and I would exact full revenge for the deceit I suffered. From inside the room, I listened to the matchmaker hired by the Shen family shower me with extravagant praise. They called me the most dignified and gentle woman in the capital, saying that every flattering word in the world meant for a woman could be used to describe me. I can't help but think that no one has ever praised Ninghua, the eldest princess, like that, yet she still lives with such ease and grace. Why can she? But I cannot. If I had a second chance, perhaps I should live a different way. My mother sent someone to call me to the front hall. When I went in, the matchmaker was still praising how well I matched with Jiyu Mingyuan. When I saw Jiyu Mingyuan, I was taken aback. Unlike in my previous life when a Shen clan relative arranged the betrothal on my behalf, he had come in person. He looked at me, and a smile spread in his eyes, his lips lifting into a bright, happy expression. He wore a cloud brocade and gold thread hanfu, with a white jade hairpin, clearly well dressed for the occasion. His lips moved slightly, as if he uttered 2 words. A dozen chests of betrothal gifts were carried in. His father and mother's smiles couldn't be contained. Jiyu Mingyuan's gaze lingered on me. I lowered my head to conceal the hatred in my eyes. My father couldn't wait to discuss the marriage arrangements with him, subtly bringing up my 2 brothers' official positions in every other sentence. How could Jiyu Mingyuan not understand? Yet instead of evading or giving an ambiguous response, he directly agreed. My father immediately beamed with joy. He was the young master of the Shen family, a connection my father had tried every means to cultivate but never managed to reach. Yet now, he appeared eager to grant whatever I asked. The 2 of us talked with such ease that I suddenly realized I might have no way out. No, I had been confined by the mindset of a woman trapped in the inner quarters for decades. I had plenty of choices as long as I am ruthless enough and love myself enough. Chapter 6. I have followed the rules for many years, and my family has never put up defenses against me. I left home under the pretext of seeking a marriage partner. I have been a housewife of the Shun family for more than 30 years, and it is easy to shake off a few servants. I exchanged the jewelry for silver, hid it in my shoes and socks, and when I reached a safe place, I would exchange it for gold ingots and depart from Qi Kingdom. Now the 5 kingdoms stand as one, and soon there will be wars everywhere in troubled times. Fierce women appear. This is my opportunity. The state of Qi is not a place that can accommodate women, otherwise there wouldn't be only one Princess Ninghua. As for the noblewoman of Qin, her reputation is one I had heard of in my previous life within secluded boudoirs. Qin is, indeed, the destination of my journey this time. The day after I left, my family started searching for me. I kept my tracks hidden all the way, not worrying about being found, but I hadn't considered Jiyu Mingyuan, a swift horse in a blue-green robe, the future Prime Minister of Qi, who has always remained unmoved in the face of a mountain collapse, was disordered in appearance. Qingwan, there is no avoiding it, so I stood calmly in place and called out, Master Jiyu. Jiyu Mingyuan pressed his lips together, his eyes flickering. Have you been wronged at home? I know your parents are partial. Don't be afraid. Once you marry me, I will certainly. So he knew all along. In a previous life, I married him for the first time, and on the day of the return feast he said he had official business and did not accompany me. This was still the first among the aristocratic families in the capital city. My father felt I had brought shame to him, and he was eager to reap some benefits. When he could not see Jiyu Mingyuan, he vented his anger on me. He beat the palm of my hand until the skin and flesh were turned inside out, using my supposed failure to learn proper female conduct as the reason. After returning to the Shun residence, before I could even apply the bruise salve, I was summoned by Mother Jiyu to serve tea for an entire hour. Finally, she deigned to lift her eyelids and said, Know your place. I was caught in the middle, pleasing no one. And what about him? He never said a word, nor did he lift a finger. I interrupted him. Young Master Jiyu, I have no feelings for you. Jiyu Mingyuan froze completely. Qingwan, what did you say? Please address me as Lin Qingwan. I looked him in the eye and said, Clearly, I have long endured the suffering of my parents' favoritism, and that is not why I am leaving. I am leaving because, Jiyu Mingyuan gripped the reins tightly, as if he had already anticipated what I was about to say. A husband I saw only a few times a year. Decades of cold neglect. I kept numbing myself, convincing myself that this was mutual respect as guests, that he was toiling away for the sake of Huayan and me. Dressing up before the mirror, I carefully adorned myself, hoping that, as night fell, Jiyu Mingyuan would push the door open and come to me. What I had cherished as a sweet yet painful dream turned out to be nothing but a nauseating lie. I feel nauseated. I never want to live this kind of day again, because I don't want to marry you. The joy on his face faded completely. He stared at me in disbelief. No way, something must be mistaken somewhere. Chapter 7. Having not yet succeeded in starting a business, he died midway. I sat in the carriage, and Jiyu Mingyuan had 3 maidservants take care of me. The fruits and pastries were of the highest grade, but I cannot ignore the fact that I've been put under his watch. Along the way I escaped once, but was caught again without fail. I spoke to him coldly. He looked hurt, yet he wouldn't let me go. He convinced himself that I would only fall in love with him after we were married, so now I treat him with this kind of blunt indifference. But he was wrong. In a past life, I had already delighted in him. It was during the time when grass grows and orioles fly, when my paper kite landed in his hands at our first meeting. It was when the lights were dim and faint, when I separated from my maid, and he sent someone to bring me back for our reunion. During the Winter Snow Palace banquet, I was brought before Old Duke by my eldest brother to flatter him, and he interrupted Old Duke's gaze that clung to me in the name of business. It was only a small effort for him, but for me it was the light after years of darkness and seclusion. Now none of those things have any meaning. As the capital drew nearer, I began eating those cold and stimulating foods more and more often, and over the course of 2 days the abdominal pain became unbearable. Gooey water has arrived early. Upon hearing the news, Jiyu Mingyuan stood flustered outside the carriage, his eyes full of distress as he looked at me curled up in pain. What a hypocrite! In my past life, when I gave birth to our daughter, he never showed such concern. Whenever there is a bump, I cry out in pain, and the march must slow. its pace. I count the time in my heart and finally dragged it to that day, the day when the Qin state envoy Xie Yunju leaves the capital. Chapter 8. I took advantage of a trip to the restroom to climb over the wall of the relay station and ran off as fast as my legs could carry me. I only had one chance. I had no idea where Xie Yunju lived, but I did know where the most bustling tavern in town was located. Xie Yunju was the nephew of the king of Qin, only 16 years old. He was naturally flirtatious, often surrounded by a flock of maidservants in a past life. There were even rumors that he was very likely the biological father of the Princess Royal's child, yet none of the women who associated with him ever spoke ill of him. This shows that his character was not bad, and besides, he was from Qin. He might help me. I'm not at all sure. Holding up my skirt, I ran all the way. Finally, from a distance, I locked eyes with the man on the upstairs balcony who was drinking, leaning on the railing. His posture was slack, a lock of dark hair cascading along his body, a few strands trailing beyond the red railing, with a beautiful maidservant at his side. What a fine sight, a noble son drunk and reclining in opulence. Meanwhile my hairpin had come loose, the gooey water dampening my clothes, and my appearance was utterly disheveled. The people chasing me from behind seized my arms. In that moment, I raised my head toward the people upstairs and cried, "Please, save me." My throat was dry. My eyes bulged, and my hair flew past my face in an instant. Red clothes filled my field of vision. Xie Yunju actually leaped down. That striking, breathtaking face enlarged infinitely in my pupils. His crimson lips parted slightly as he asked, "Why should I save you? I am willing to serve you, Lord Xie. For 3 years, toiling like an ox or a horse, repaying kindness even with grass in my mouth." Xie Yunzu sneered, "There are many who want to be my concubine or maid. What makes you special?" I remained silent. "I am waiting," until a look of displeasure flashed in Xie Yunzu's eyes. He frowned, and Jiyu Mingyuan arrived. "Thank you, Marquis, for your forgiveness. Please release my fiancé." With my back to Jiyu Mingyuan, I mouthed to Xie Yunju, "See." After a moment of stunned silence, Xie Yunju's lips curved upward, his eyes gleaming with keen interest. "My gamble paid off. From now on, even if I become a slave or a servant, as long as I can obtain what I seek, this woman can bend and endure. I will have no regrets." Chapter 9. Jiyu Mingyuan could not lay a hand on the envoy and had no choice but to leave with a grim expression. I relaxed, and the pain in my abdomen returned. The bloodstain on the skirt spread larger and larger. Xie Yunju saw it, looked embarrassed, and called for a maid. Before he could walk away, he heard me say calmly to the maid, "My cloth pad needs changing. Please bring me some hot water." "You're not shy around me at all. Is that what that guy Jiyu likes about you?" Xie Yunju asked, his expression a mix of surprise and uncertainty. "I find this a bit funny. I am someone who has lived to 50, and I no longer care so much about guarding against men and women. Moreover, it's perfectly natural for a woman to come to gooey water. It shouldn't be something to be ashamed of in the first place." With that thought, I don't know whether I should thank Jiyu Mingyuan. He made me rich for a lifetime, and after not many years I no longer had to read my father's face. If a person always stands high, they will understand that some rules exist only for the higher-ups to better manage those below, just as subordinates must bow to me. This is to reflect my status, and more importantly to cultivate in them a sense of awe, thereby making them more loyal. Aren't those overly severe gendered guards also for restraining women? But if there were enormous benefits, all the rules would be invalidated, just as the eldest princess has the ability to lead troops in battle. The former emperor and the rulers allowed women to become generals. Night fell. I slept peacefully. It was supposed to be a peaceful sleep, but Jiyu Mingyuan woke me up. "Qingwan, I'll take you away." I dodged his hand. He coaxed, "Xie Yunju isn't a good person. If you come back with me, I'll treat you well." He was really muddle-headed. The restaurant that the Qin envoy reserved for hosting guests isn't that easy to enter. Xie Yunju at this moment is probably hiding somewhere watching the show. I coldly said, "Young Master Jiyu, I have no feelings for you at all. Please do not pester me anymore." He forced a smile. "Why must you be angry with me? Is it because of that poem I wrote lately, Bring in the Wine?" After much thought, I still couldn't dig out the meaning of invitation to wine from decades of memories. Fortunately, Jiyu Mingyuan cleared it up for me. Her Royal Highness the eldest princess achieved a great victory over the state of Wei. I wrote it in a moment of excitement. Please don't misunderstand. So that's how it was. I didn't misunderstand in either of my two lives, but now he is staring at me, waiting for an explanation. Could he be feeling guilty? I went along with it. Young Master Gu's adoration for the princess is touching. I wish the two of you 100 years of harmony. Upon hearing this, Jiyu Mingyuan's face turned pale. If young Master Jiyu does not leave soon, I will call for someone. Jiyu Mingyuan looked at me several times, and in the end walked away. Like a soul in turmoil, staggering after he left, Xie Yunji jumped down from the beam. He sized me up, puzzled beyond measure. What is it about you that has him doing this to you? He likes you this much, aren't you moved at all? What do you mean it was just a late-night visit to the tavern? Trying to trick me into going back. I was the person his mother most favored as the young mistress of the Shen family. During my maiden days, I was trained to be virtuous and proper, with a fine reputation. Spread abroad, though my family background was not of high status, old Madame Jiyu promised Jiyu Mingyuan that as long as he married me and produced an heir, she would no longer stop him from following the eldest princess. Only if he does everything as I wish, offering up his fortune, clearing my path forward, and shielding me from misfortune, would he truly love me, and only then would he move me, if only for a moment. His behavior these past few days has made me suspicious, but no matter what purpose he has for taking me back, it goes against my wishes. So why should I be moved? Isn't Xie Yunju supposed to be well versed in matters between men and women? How could he not understand something so obvious? Xie Yunju looked somewhat displeased. What's with that look in your eyes? The way he looks at that brat. Why is Lord Xie here? Xie Yunju was caught off guard by my question. Admiring the moon, I couldn't be bothered. Drowsiness washed over me, so I pulled the covers up and went to sleep. Xie Yunju was speechless for a moment. From the second day on, for some reason, Xie Yunju rejected me from 1,000 miles away, quite like a scholar who had encountered a fox spirit. I walked over and heard him muttering. To tempt a man, it's a 3-step process. First, make him interested in you. Second, ignore him. Humph. I won't be taken in. I walked over and patted his shoulder. He jumped 3 jong high in one go. Chapter 10. I had been traveling with the envoy of the state of Qin for many days. Xie Yunju went out of his way to avoid me, which made my role as his maid quite leisurely. When people have idle time, their minds tend to wander. In fact, I had also seen Xie Yunju in my previous life. In the 3rd year after I married Jiyu Mingyuan, a banquet was held at the palace. I rode in the carriage with Jiyu Mingyuan, his black hair neatly combed, his attire elegant and proper, exceedingly solemn. The room was silent. I tried to start a conversation and said, "I've heard Princess Ninghua has returned. I really want to see what the female general looks like." Jiyu Mingyuan closed his eyes to rest, and I couldn't continue talking. He quietly cut off the topic on his own. Later, I didn't see Princess Ninghua. Apparently she was ill and unwell. Jiyu Mingyuan was distracted, his mind frequently wandering. I assumed he was troubled by official matters. Later, he hastily left the banquet, and I had no idea where he had gone. Now that I think about it, he probably went to visit the one in his heart. I remained seated at the banquet, watching the envoy from the state of Qin offer his congratulations, while the noble ladies around me whispered among themselves, marveling at the striking beauty of Marquis Xie Yunju, in his crimson python robe and sweeping eyebrows that tapered into his temples, was dazzlingly radiant, a rare and exquisite beauty in this world. It was said that his mother, Princess Zhaohua, was the greatest beauty and the wealthiest merchant in the state of Qin. She had been married several times, but after the mysterious death of her last husband, she never remarried. After 3 rounds of toasts, I stepped out to find Jiyu Mingyuan. I searched the imperial garden several times but found no trace of him. Just as I was about to leave, I heard a rustling sound from within the flowers. A snow-white hand as white as jade suddenly grabbed my ankle and pulled me in with a jerk. My scream was muffled by a hand over my mouth. Xie Yunju was very close to me, his eyes reddened at the edges, his body scorching hot. Clearly having eaten something, it reminded me of the many, many years ago when I glimpsed the tales of alluring ghosts in erotic storybooks. Save me, or I'll kill you. His voice carried a tightly restrained tremor. This is utterly unreasonable. I suppressed my panic and spoke gently. My lord, what is wrong with you? Let me go. I'll go fetch the imperial physician for you. Your good princess. You drugged this lord. There is only one eldest princess in the current dynasty. If I let you go, and you start shouting to bring others here, I interrupted him. Embarrassing you, Marquis, brings me no benefit. Your men must be anxiously searching for you as well. How about you give me a token, and I'll go find them? Xie Yunju pondered for a long time, and in the end, he had no choice but to trust me. He took the jade pendant from his waist and handed it to me. I let out a sigh and was about to stand up when he called me back. Wait, what is your name, Madam Gu? Surname Lin. I'm asking your name. I was stunned for a moment, then breathed out the 3 words that no one had called me by for so many years. Lin Qingwan. If you lie to me, I will not let you off. He glared at me fiercely, but with his strikingly beautiful face and anxious eyes, he looked more like a snarling, fluffy little white fox, all bluff and bluster. Unaware of how unbearably endearing he appeared, I hurriedly glanced away and said, of course. He drew himself into the shadows. His guard up all over. Usually in wealthy households, if a young master took a drug, they would simply find a maid to handle it, but I didn't expect Xie Yunju to react this way. After I found Xie Yunju's maid and returned the jade pendant, I stopped worrying about it. I only knew that the Princess Dowager fell ill again for a month afterward, never going out. Once the envoy from Qin left, she recovered. I suppose it's because I've been shut up by His Majesty after returning from the palace. Banquet. Jiyu Mingyuan was as if bereft of his soul, and he even got very angry. Returning to my senses from memory, I look at the current Xie Yunju again, and I feel a bit dazed. Xie Yunju seemed to sense something, glanced back to meet my gaze, pressed his lips together, and then turned his head again. I followed Xie Yunju from a distance, mindful of my duty as a handmaid. At last we reached the border of Qi and Qin. The river stretched wide, waves surging to the sky. Crossing this threshold would be my rebirth. Although wealth and health may be lost, I topple the surrounding walls and forget the life I lived in the rear dwelling. My heart is tumultuous, and at the moment I was about to fall, Xie Yunju caught my hand. Joy overflows in my heart as I raise my gaze and smile at him. His ears turned red. A voice on the bank, Lin Qingwan, made him suddenly snap back to reality, and he withdrew his hand. Jiyu Mingyuan stood by the river, the water already covering his shoes. His voice was hoarse, his eyes red. I turned around, as decisive as when the soul and spirit dispersed in the previous life. I think he must have understood it. There are others being reborn as well. I don't know why he looks so suddenly repentant, but I'm too lazy to probe the reasons. The young Master Shen is as cunning as a demon. Perhaps he had already discovered it long ago, just refused to believe it. He hopes I am as naive and ignorant as in my previous life, so that he can have another chance he cannot. Imagine how Lin Qingwan, who has already lived a life and lingered by his side for years, would hate him so deeply. Chapter 11. In my past life, after I was gone, Jiyu Mingyuan searched everywhere for me but could not find me. He watched as Shen Huayan buried his body together with Princess Ninghua, seeming as though he wanted to stop it, but to no avail. He let his hands fall in defeat. Unable to bear watching any longer, Shen Huayan knelt before their tomb, calling them father and mother. Mother, although the Chen family woman is not as dazzling as you, she did raise me for many years. For my sake, please forgive her. My son, whom I have regarded as a treasure, now calls me Chen. Shen Huayan continued, all these years, father has only had you in his heart. He has never shown a single ounce of affection for Chen. In your next life, could you take a look at him? Jiyu Mingyuan shook his head repeatedly. No, it isn't like that. I don't know why he denies it. It was probably during these years after my death that he suddenly began to recall my good deeds. After all, distance creates beauty, not to mention the distance between life and death. Jiyu Mingyuan began to wander about, but he also cannot wander far. I've tried. The soul cannot leave too far from the burial ground. The place he stayed the most was that mass grave. Later he seemed possessed, always shouting my name. shouting until my head spun and I grew tired of it. Qingwan, Qingwan. When I woke up the next day, my head was still buzzing. Pushing the door open and stepping out, I happened to see Xie Yunju passing by with a grim expression on his face. I quickly followed him to ask a servant girl. It turned out that Princess Ninghua of Qi had arrived and specifically demanded to see Marquis Xie. That Princess of Qi heard that our young Marquis is as handsome as like the divine and mighty general, and said she wanted to see his legendary presence for herself. Are the four characters as beautiful as a flower really that hard to say? I saw Xie Yunju, who kept moving, even spare a glance at that maid. It seems it really is not easy to say. I blended into the maid squad and followed them into the Qin royal palace. The woman in the guest seat is tall and sharp, with dark skin, wearing a suit of armor. This is also the first time I've seen the person whom Jiyu Mingyuan has admired for a lifetime. Next to her stands a refined, handsome white-clothed young master, slender and graceful, with my decades of experience surveying the scheming and private lives of the inner chambers. This is a master who serves as a kept man. She is indeed very special. No wonder so many men are obsessed with her, but she is too selfish and flirtatious to be a good wife. Of course, I don't think that is a fault. There is something worth learning even from an enemy. I've seen clearly now, Xie Yunju's elegance is a pretense, all show and no substance. But Princess Ninghua, the eldest princess of Long Peace, possesses true refinement. She has savored every fine delicacy the world has to offer. Setting aside the power struggles of the court, this alone would make Mother Jiyu refuse to let Jiyu Mingyuan marry her. I respect her, and I resent her. Back then, she was pregnant but, for some reason, couldn't marry the child's father, so she turned to Jiyu Mingyuan, who had always had feelings for her. Overjoyed, he promised to marry her, but in the end, under his mother's coercion, he married me instead. When she was dying from difficult labor, Jiyu Mingyuan rushed to her bedside and vowed to ensure her child a smooth path in the future. He said, "Mrs. Lin gave birth prematurely also today, how could she not understand? But the one I truly hate is Jiyu Mingyuan. Clearly, it was his own incompetence and failure to keep his promises, yet he blames me and harms me instead." Chapter 12. In the previous life, the envoy from the state of Qi was not Princess Ninghua. Perhaps it was because Jiyu Mingyuan of this lifetime was not desperately eager to marry her, and now that she was already with child, staying in the capital might risk exposure, so she took on the envoy mission. The king of Qin, seated at the main seat, smiled and introduced Xie Yunju to Ninghua. Ninghua's eyes lit up at the sight of him, and then her gaze clung to him, intensely possessive. I have long heard of the Marquis of Chuanshan's famed allure, and now that I see him in person, I wish to admire him day and night. Xie Yunju's face darkened. The banquet dragged on for a full 2 hours. Ninghua lingered without leaving, constantly steering the conversation back to Xie Yunju. On the way back, Xie Yunju was steeped in displeasure, his lips pressed tightly together, his fingers clenched so hard that his nails dug into his palms. I have encountered similar things too, although it turns my stomach, it is not to this extent. Moreover, Princess Ninghua has at least a noble bearing, far better than the old prince who took me to see my elder brother. Princess Ninghua will also stay in the Qin capital for a few more days. With today's posture, I'm afraid she will not easily abandon Xie Yunju. I stepped forward and said, "I have a plan." Xie Yunju's dark eyes glanced over. Xie Yunji, who had hidden from Princess Consort Ninghua for several days, finally appeared in the busy city, in front of the envoy of the Qi state. Xie Yunji said to Princess Consort Ninghua, "If you really like me this much, I can reluctantly marry you." The emissaries from the state of Qi had varied expressions on their faces. Xie Yunju raised an eyebrow, looking rather pleased with himself. Princess Ninghua of Qi was the crown jewel of the state, gifted with the talent of a military commander and holding command over armed forces. How could she possibly be married off to the state of Qin? But his satisfaction came too early. As Ninghua smiled and said, "I've heard that Marquis Xie has wandered through countless blooms and plucked tens of thousands of flowers. What's the matter? Do you find this flower unworthy of your appreciation?" What she wanted was nothing but a fleeting romance. But she's less than 3 months pregnant now. Has she gone mad? I originally thought she was just lustful by nature, at most sneaking around for secret pleasures, never expected her to be playing this kind of game. I prided myself on having broken free from all shackles, yet even I could never bring myself to do what she's done. Xie Yunzhou's face turned red, and he stormed off with a flick of his sleeve. Princess Ninghua of Longevity, well versed in such matters, naturally understood his reaction. Xie Yunzhou was nothing more than a paper tiger, outwardly bold but inwardly pure. Still a novice, this only made her more excited. I am worried, and as a matter of fact, my worry has proven correct. Chapter 13. Princess Zhao Hua, the eldest princess of Qin, mother of Xie Yunzhou, returns to the capital. She comes to the Hu family to visit, but Xie Yunzhou shuts the door and does not meet her. The servant did not dare to stop her, and she entered Xie Yunzhou's courtyard. Princess Zhao Hua, radiant and graceful, was truly deserving of her title as the greatest beauty in the state of Qin. Every smile and glance had the power to move one's heart. Yet now, her brows were tightly knitted, hesitating and afraid to knock on the door. Xie Yunzhou abruptly pulled the door open. Their eyes met, but he quickly looked away, as if throwing a tantrum. What do you want? My daughter brought you back some gifts. She was referring to the boxes of treasures in the front hall. They've been delivered, so let's go. Princess Zhao Hua forced a smile, her gaze lingering with interest, a mother's benevolent heart intact. She glanced at me before she left and casually asked, "Is this Yunzhou's newly acquired maidservant?" My heart tightened, and I hurried to report my name. You're quite bold. If you're willing, when Yunzhou's 3-year agreement reaches its end, you can come find me. Indeed, one should not underestimate such a remarkable woman. She is keenly aware of any movement in the Hu household, yet she is a to Xie Yunzhou. I lowered my head in acknowledgement. This conversation reached Xie Yunzhou's ears as well. He called me over and said, "You really want to have your cake and eat it too? You haven't even repaid my kindness yet, and you're already eyeing your next patron. Truly, when mother and son clash, it's the maid who suffers. The last idea you came up with didn't work, and I haven't even settled the score with you yet." I hadn't accounted for Princess Ninghua being this insane. I was inconsiderate. "Please punish me, my lord." Xie Yunzhou gave a malicious smile and punished me by making me stand at his door with a bowl of water balanced on my head. I am outwardly troubled, yet my heart remains calm. Even when I was in the inner chamber, I could walk with the bowl balanced and moving swiftly. All of that was trained by the governess with whip after whip. But I did not expect that after I had stood for only a cup of tea, Xie Yunzhou would pass by me 7 times. On the 8th time, he cleared his throat and said, "I'm hot. I need a fan-wielding maid, if you can't stand it." Before he finished speaking, a maid came with a palm leaf fan, and the rest of his words could only be swallowed back into his stomach. The maids by his side all worked swiftly, but none of them had much tact or sense in such a cool day. Xie Yunzhou didn't really want someone fanning him. He was sitting under the corridor not far away, his shoulders shrinking slightly from the fanning. I found it quite amusing. Might as well go along with his wishes, since he wanted to be a good master. Why make him unhappy? I gave a slight shudder, spilling half a bowl of water, and let myself go limp. Not far away, the maid fanning the breeze widened her eyes, unable to understand how I could be so gentle and fragile. Xie Yunzhou hurried to my side in 3 steps, reached out to hold my hand, then withdrew, and with a stern face said, "If you can't stand, can't you say so? Do you think I look so unapproachable?" I offered him a grateful smile. "Lord Marquis is the best master, my great benefactor." He mumbled awkwardly, "That's obvious, isn't it?" A gentle breeze stirred the curtains beneath the corridor. A sparrow landed on a branch tip, tilting its head as it looked left and right. Yet such a kind and transparent soul suffered on account of Ninghua. I stayed hidden behind the rockery with Xie Yunzhou, whose face was flushed, while a maidservant donned his outer robe to lead Princess Ninghua away. It was indeed her who drugged Xie Yunzhou in the previous life. Now, the timing has moved up. Xie Yunzhou bit his lip until it bled, his entire body burning hot and trembling uncontrollably. Staying here is not an option. As long as he could reach a crowded place, this was the state of Qin. Princess Ninghua would not dare to act recklessly. I reached for Xie Yunzhou's hand, but the moment I touched him, he shoved me away violently. "Get lost. "Don't touch me." His eyes were bloodshot, and he had already lost all reason this time. The drug was even stronger than in the previous life. He stepped back step by step until there was nowhere to retreat, as if plunging into hell, despair climbing onto his enormous figure. I am unwilling to think too much about such a reaction. At this moment I am not allowed to think too much either. I pick up a stone and rush over to smash him twice into unconsciousness. Half dragging and half carrying him away, I stumbled and ran for a long time. Xie Yunju, half awake, saw me and for a moment his eyes were clear. "It's you, what are you doing?" "I'm taking you away." Thankfully, I hadn't taken the wrong path after we encountered a few passers-by. Princess Ninghua's pursuers dared not approach. Before long, Princess Zhaohua arrived. Her face was as cold as frost as she ordered the entire elegant courtyard to be surrounded. I don't know how she will handle Princess Ninghua, and that's not something I should concern myself with right now. With the help of a maid, Xie Yunzu was helped into the carriage. He gripped my wrist tightly, and I could only stay by his side. Xie Yunju curled up beside me, letting out some faint, fragmented sounds. "My dear daughter, save me." His voice was like a small hand gripping my heart, and I was momentarily unable to catch my breath. Returning to the Hu residence, Xie Yunju had completely fallen into an unconscious state, crouching in a corner, repelling everyone from approaching. Doctors came one after another, yet they could not even enter the door. Princess Zhonghua handed me the medicine and told me to try feeding it to Xie Yunju. "This is a medicine to reduce internal heat. It can temporarily suppress the spring poison in his body, but the specifics will have to wait for the imperial physician to examine him." I pushed the door open and entered, but was not greeted by anything like a teacup hurled my way. Xie Yunju just huddled there, his eyes fixed tightly on me. I approached slowly. "My lord, are you here to save me?" Sister, did mother find out? I didn't mean to disobey uncle, but he is so strange, so strange." My feet are nailed to the ground. Though I had a premonition, hearing him say it in person still pains me so much I can hardly bear it. "So this is the reason Princess Zhaohua never married again." Afterward, as he spoke, he cried out in alarm, tears sliding down that beautiful face that could attract wolves and leopards. While crying, he seemed to revert to his true age. "Why hasn't anyone come to save me?" He pulled me over, clutching me as if I were a lifeline. "Lin Qingwan, have you come to save me?" His eyes were so dark that not a glimmer of light could escape, and his face was full of hope as he looked at me. I knew what he wanted to hear. Also, I know that Princess Zhaohua is waiting outside for me to respond, but I still shook my head. "No, I'm not here to save you." Xie Yunzu froze there. "Princess Zhaohua outside through something. I can't save you. In my past life, I was nothing but a joke, like a play performed for others on a Pear Garden stage. Beneath the magnificent, opulent brocade lay a mess in shambles. I didn't dare lift it, numbing myself instead until after death, when everything was laid bare before me. All things share one fate. Life and death witness the same appearance. What are you afraid of? All the pain in this world is merely the obstacles in your path forward. You must not let them trip you up. You must not let them drain you. I want to. I will go get it myself. I don't need anyone to save me. I will redeem myself. You should be the same. Only you can save yourself. Others can save you for a moment, but not for a lifetime. Only by unlocking the shackles in your heart can you truly rid yourself of all that filth." Xie Yunzhu's eyes flickered, the dappled light from the paper-cut window patterns falling upon him. Lin Qingwan, Chapter 14. When the imperial physician was diagnosing Xie Yunzu, Princess Zhaohua found me. There were still tears on her face, not yet dried. You've probably already guessed, she looked much more weary than the days we met before. At that time he was only 7. I liked to travel for business across the seas, and I was often away from home. Later, there was a period when he was afraid of men, so I arranged for him ladies-in-waiting with strong martial skills, for fear he would encounter trouble again. No wonder the manor is full of maids inside and out. When Xie Yunju goes in and out, it's always accompanied by a cluster of maids, with not a single man in sight. After that, he became the famously philandering young Marquis Xie. He just built a shell to protect himself. Later, he forgave me, but if I travel far away, he still gets angry with me. As they talked, Princess Zhaohua began to cry. Perhaps it was because all these years she had no one to confide in. The way Princess Ninghua looked at Xie Yunju was no different from those men, sticky and full of aggression. That was why Xie Yunju reacted so strongly to her. A few days later, Xie Yunju woke up. When he woke up, I had already left with Princess Zhaohua. This was to spare him the embarrassment, and more importantly, for the sake of my own future. By following one of the most powerful women in the Qin state, I would learn a great deal. As for Princess Ninghua, Princess Zhaohua had drugged her that same day. An eye for an eye. She was entangled with her men for a day and a night, and in the end, the bleeding wouldn't stop. Shen Huayan, who was raised by me as a parent-child upbringing, has never even been born in this life. I spent a full hour before I could accept the news that Shen Huayan was gone just like that. My love for him had already vanished completely during those years when I drifted like a wandering soul, and at this moment, I feel not a trace of sorrow. I can only sigh at how uncertain the world is. One breath decides life and death. As for the scandals of Princess Ninghua, the state of Qin naturally had no reason to cover for her, and within just a few days, the news had spread to all 5 kingdoms, but I think this won't affect her all that much. What truly impacted her was that after her miscarriage, the imperial physicians of Qin took too long to arrive, leaving her bedridden for days and causing her to develop a lasting ailment. Guoshi sent people to fetch her. The new envoy is the young and promising head of the Shen family, the youngest chancellor in Qi's history. For Jiyu Mingyuan, this is a good opportunity to perform a hero saving a beauty. May he seize it. Unfortunately, I cannot witness the scene of the lovers meeting after traveling 1,000 miles. When Jiyu Mingyuan arrived in Qin, I had already followed Princess Zhaohua to Wei to do business. Of course, it's not just about doing business. She is also responsible for gathering intelligence, training undercover agents, and many other tasks. This farewell, goodbye Xie Yunjiao, is actually 5 years later. Chapter 15. The grass grows, and warblers fly. I have returned to the land of my birth and the place where I shall be buried. Qi. Over the years, I traveled through many states, never once resting. Zhaohua once invited me back to Qin, but matters kept me from going. Now, I have been granted the rank of the 3rd grade by Qin and have come as an envoy of the state of Qin to the state of Qi. Once, Qi and Qin were equals, but after Princess Ninghua retired due to illness, Qi began suffering repeated defeats at the hands of Wei. Forced to seek help from Qin, Qi is now more deferential to Qin than ever. I met with other Qin envoys at the border of Qi and Qin. Some people in the crowd have heard of my reputation and are sincerely convinced by me. Some doubt my abilities, and more think I am being heavily promoted by Princess Zhaohua. I don't care about any of that. The path I follow is not that of a clean-handed, literary official. Whether praised or criticized, it will not elevate my rank, increase my wealth, or strengthen my body, but there always seemed to be a burning gaze fixed on me within the ranks. The state of Qi held a grand banquet. I sat to the left of the Qi ruler, facing Jiyu Mingyuan on the right, whose eyes were full of complexity. As for my father and elder brother, they were seated too far away for me to make out their expressions. Someone suddenly remarked, I heard that Lord Lin and Lord Jiyu were once engaged. One by one, eyes gathered on me. The Duke of Qi blinked his eyes slyly. Where did this rumor come from? But Marshal Lin does seem to be one of us Qi people. Could it be? I took a sip of wine and said lightly, there have been such times. Jiyu Mingyuan suddenly widened his eyes, as if he couldn't believe I would admit it so easily. The ruler of the state of Qi laughed heartily and said, what a stroke of fate. Minister Jiyu has not yet taken a wife, and Lord Lin has not yet married a man. Isn't this the will of heaven? Jiyu Mingyuan's gaze grew fervent. Someone in the diplomatic mission of the state of Qin dropped a wine cup, but no one paid it any mind. I smiled faintly and said, a woman should first establish her career before starting a family. Now that I have yet to achieve great deeds and am wandering far from home, how could I bear to drag some man into a life of waiting for my return? The ruler of Qi, perhaps distraught over losing his sister who fought for him, had become so muddled in his mind that he disregarded the presence of the Qin envoy and said, Lord Lin, why not give up this arduous task in Qin and return to your homeland? Although Qi has no precedent for female officials, I am willing to set that precedent for you. Lin Qing, my father hurriedly stepped forward and said, "A daughter's marriage is subject to her parents' command and the matchmaker's words. Your servant long ago betrothed her to Lord Ji Yu." My brothers also quickly stepped forward to express their agreement. This time I saw clearly on my father's face was the eager excitement of someone about to pluck a ripe peach, while my brothers' faces showed jealousy and gloating. The ruler of Qi clapped his hands in approval and even produced a letter from old Madame Ji Yu, clearly having prepared it in advance. Old Madame Ji Yu had long heard that the Lin family's daughter was exceptionally talented, which matched my thoughts perfectly. She specially wrote this letter to Minister Lin. The letter was placed before me, and throughout it were praises I had never heard in my previous life coming from Ji Yu Mu's mouth. She earnestly hoped I would marry Ji Yu Mingyuan. Believing I was the most qualified candidate to become a wife of the Shen family, I could only smile silently. Why couldn't Ji Yu Mingyuan see the mockery in my smile? A bitter smile tugged at the corner of his lips, and his eyes dimmed. Lord Lin is a man of utmost filial piety and would never go against his parents' wishes. In my view, why not today? The group pressed on relentlessly, determined to force me into marrying Ji Yu Mingyuan just as I was about to speak. The man opposite me suddenly stepped forward and knelt down, saying, "Your servant is unwilling." Ji Yu Mingyuan stood with a straight back, kneeling, neither servile nor arrogant. The Lord of Qi frowned. "Ji Yu Qing, what do you mean? Your servant is not worthy of Master Lin." At this moment, vaguely, his silhouette overlapped with the man who had been my husband for a lifetime. The hall was hushed. Chapter 16. The night before I left Qi, Ji Yu Mingyuan came. He stood in the yard. The night breeze gently blew, and his figure was slightly bowed. "Qingwan." The two words lingered long and tenderly, carrying all the desolation, as if he had uttered them thousands of times between his lips. Yet only when seeing me could he finally let them out. He said, "After you left, my dream forever froze at that silhouette. We accompanied each other for a lifetime. Only after I died would he realize how hard it was to give me up." He eyed my brows and eyes with his gaze, utterly longing for them. Unfortunately, I was not moved. Ji Yu Mingyuan does not love the real me. What he loves is the devoted, dutiful, and understanding virtuous wife and mother, Lin, who sacrifices her whole life for him, not Lin Qingwan. "Ji Yu Mingyuan, do you still remember my daughter?" His body stiffened, and his face turned pale inch by inch. "Did you kill her, right?" "Yes." "She isn't your daughter. You wouldn't spare her hands, of course." His face twisted, remorse and pain climbing to his cheeks. He stammered, "No, no. I originally only wanted to send her to the village to be raised, but I didn't expect on the way she is my premature daughter, already so fragile it's pitiful. Even dogs would crush her to death." Ji Yu Mingyuan paved the way for the illegitimate child of his beloved, letting her die on a bumpy road and then tossing her onto a mass grave. "You are supposed to dream of not me, but her." Ji Yu Mingyuan's knees went weak, and he knelt down. I no longer looked at him, turned and left. The moment our paths crossed, he grabbed my sleeve. "So, you're never going to forgive me, are you, my child? We can still have, will you forgive me?" He waited for an answer he already knew, his hands trembling violently, but I said, "If you go and apologize to her properly, I might forgive you." Ji Yu Mingyuan suddenly raised his head and met my cold eyes. I brushed his hand away. Only at this moment did he understand that he would never obtain my forgiveness if we start again. It's not his atonement, but my nirvana. And none of this has anything to do with him. Outside the yard, Xie Yunju was peeking around furtively. When he saw me come out, he hurried to hide, then suddenly remembered that he had changed his face, and straightened up proudly to show himself. I looked straight at him. He was stunned in place at once, and after a long moment he cleared his throat and saluted me. "Master Lin, what is it? Someone from Qi visited late at night. I am here to remind Master Lin not to forget your own identity," he said seriously. I snorted with laughter, leaving Xie Yunju utterly bewildered. Why would he think I wouldn't recognize him? It was he who descended from the sky, clad in red, filling my eyes. It was he who reached out his hand and saved me from Ji Yu Mingyuan's attendants. It was he who took me in the state of Qin, allowing me to freely browse the books in the mansion. It was he who gave me a chance at a new life. "Xie Yunju, Even through my disguise mask, I could see his embarrassment at being found out. He tore off the disguise mask in one swift motion, revealing his originally delicate, picture-perfect face beneath. 5 years apart, he had grown taller, and his features had become more defined with striking brows and eyes, a high nose bridge, and a delicate, upturned nose. His rosy lips remained as tender and captivating as ever. "That GU fellow just won't give up," he said indignantly, clearly a handsome and dashing rich young master, yet as soon as he speaks, people know he isn't bright whatever he says. I respond in agreement. After talking for a long while, he suddenly feels something's off. "Lin Qingwan, did you listen to me properly?" I hastily nod. "I just asked you, did you leave without saying goodbye on purpose 5 years ago?" I look back at him. The moon shines brightly, the stars are few, his eyelashes tremble, a blush spreads across his face, and he forces himself to wear a serious expression as he meets my gaze. "Lin Qingwan, I forgive you for breaking your promise and leaving without a word. I just want to ask you, do you like me or not?" He is the pearl and flower that Princess Zhaohua has cherished in the palm of her hand her entire life. I would never dare to pluck him. Over these 5 years, working under Princess Zhaohua, I have learned the skills to get things done. I have witnessed too much filth, too many schemes, and too many feigned or genuine emotions. The faint stirrings of affection I once felt have long since come to mean nothing. Entangling with his superior's son is not something good for the future. I was about to shake my head, when I saw him force a smile and his eyes lowered. "Also, with someone like me, you'd surely think I'm dirty." My chest tightened suddenly, although I know the words are a mix of truth and falsehood. "If he tears open the scar on his chest just to win your pity, would you still care whether it's true or not?" A drop of tear slid down his jade-like face. "It was my own wishful thinking. Sneaking over secretly, just to see you, knowing clearly that you have always used me. I am the one who is too stupid." I let out a sigh from the bottom of my heart. By the time I realized it, my hand had already landed on his face. Those eyes, brimming with tears, were inches away, and within them, a flicker of cunning. Chapter 17 gave the ruler of Qi a secret message. "Well, Qi is my homeland, but since childhood I have been stubborn and unwilling to stay there, causing my parents to be displeased. So I left. The Lin family, my father and 2 elder brothers, relied on my marriage into the Shun family to gain profit in the previous life. In this life, because I am not favored by the king, I have cut off my official career. Quite fair. As for Jiyu Mingyuan, 100 years of Shun family, I am not able to shake it in my current state, but he enjoys talking love with me, so I win him over by attacking his heart through feelings. I sent him swaddling cloth and clothes, letting him think I personally made them for our daughter. This could have been our child." The intelligence reports returned that he spit up blood. I lit a stick of incense at Lin Yufeng's cenotaph. In the past life, before she was even born, Jiyu Mingyuan had already chosen a name for her. Whether she turned out to be a boy or a girl, she would be called Shen Huayan. I once thought it was to remind her to be thoughtful and reflective. Only later did I understand, it was Jiyu Mingyuan's way of harboring endless longing. I named her Yufeng, hoping she would ride the wind across 10,000 miles, soar high and far, and live freely and unfettered. I will demand justice for her, and if she still wants to be my daughter, I will protect her safety this time. If she doesn't want to, I won't blame her either. Mother and daughter's fate is thin. I only hope she remains safe in the world. I returned to the Qin kingdom and officially entered the service, commanding the monitoring department specially established by the Qin monarch to observe the movements of all states, reporting directly to the heavens, enjoying all the privileges that come with the ruler's authority. What I have always wanted to do is to be a powerful minister. This is a position that requires thunderous measures. After 5 years of refinement, I have the confidence to be competent. Soon after taking office, I learned of Princess Ninghua's suicide by hanging. From childhood she suffered injuries from internal and external trauma and could no longer go to the battlefield. She returned to the capital of Qi, no longer a general, but still a royal princess above 10,000 people, living in wealth. It is said she indulges in many men and in frivolous, carnal pleasures. After the news spread, many people couldn't understand why she would want to take her own life. That was because Although she was by nature lustful, she knew what mattered most to her, especially after having tasted power and freedom. Being kept like a mascot made life worse than death for her. She had already reached the pinnacle of what a woman in the state of Qi could achieve. Yet if she had been born a man, she could have declared herself emperor. Qi might even have contended for the throne, seized the Central Plains, and unified the 5 states, but she was not a man. The ruler of Qi both relied on her and feared her, fearing a hen crowing at dawn, fearing that her achievements would overshadow his own. She may have had a crush, but it was too difficult. How many officials would follow and believe in her? They were all men, but Princess Zhaohua is different. She does not stand alone, her grace benefits many women, and if one day she desires something else, I and other women will support her. Time flows by in a blink, like a horse passing between the gaps of the window. I set foot on the land of Qi once more, accompanying the ruler as he presides over the capital of Qi. This country that had trapped me for 50 years has finally reached its final curtain. The ruler wishes to win over talented men, but he knows of my enmity with Jiyu Mingyuan. Compared to him, I am naturally more important, so he was given a cup of poisoned wine, which I delivered. Though still in the prime of life, Jiyu Mingyuan has already grown gray-haired. You finally came to see me. He could not bear to close his eyes until the last moment. This is the last time I turn away in front of him. Every step is a leap. The first turning away was a release born of resignation. The second turn was a dash toward a new life. This time the grudges end, and I have let them go. Leisurely riding my horse home, I heard the plaque of the Shun mansion collapse thunderously behind me. Passing by the Lin family, they all knelt at their gate in deference, not daring to look me in the eye. Under the setting sun, Xie Yunju leaned against the door. When he caught sight of me, a smile curved his lips, the very image of a charming and handsome young noble. Over the years, we've spent more time apart than together. It should be much better. From now on, he has never held any substantive official position, still the same idle young marquis. I handle matters outside, while he manages things at home. I am very content. What I want is not wealth and health by relying on others, but something real and tangible in my hands. The power and the wealth, but those are tools. Tools to help me achieve my ambitions and lead me to freedom. Xie Yunzu helped me off his arm to the ground, then held me in his arms again, mumbling, "Why did you go for so long?" I smiled and kissed him gently. "Last time, I won't go again." His eyes brightened, and his fingers hooked around, like a pledged little dog. This time, everything is perfect. Unrestrained winds, soaring across the sky. Extras, longings for love. Jiyu Mingyuan, carrying thoughts of you. Never meet again. Ning Hua died in that year's winter. Her dazzling, sharp eyes had already dimmed before her death. She had not set foot on the battlefield for several months. The sovereign did not allow her to bear children, which would ruin the royal family's reputation. But she was a stubborn person who did things her own way. She did not love the child much, but she has always been headstrong, doing as she pleased, whether pursuing a plan or perhaps being reluctant to part with the 10 months of pregnancy. She came to me first. We met at the tea house. The jade curtain rolled up. I was overjoyed, smiling brightly. She asked me, "Would you like to be the father of my child?" I stood there in a daze, mulling it over for days before finally agreeing. She had never been like ordinary women. I had long known what kind of person she was. My emotions were tangled, but in the end, she was the one I had pined for all those years without ever having. I would have agreed to anything for her, but later, my mother refused to consent, threatening me with her own life. My father had died young, and she had always been the stern mother, bearing the Shun family name on her shoulders and raising me single-handedly. I cannot bear to defy her, so I have to compromise. That Lin family girl comes from a lowly background. As long as she bears offspring, her mother will no longer interfere with matters between me and Ning Hua. I am at my wit's end. On the day of the betrothal proposal, I did not even want to go in person. The Zuas and Lins on either side dared not say a word and would even be deeply grateful for the Shun family's marriage proposal. On the night of the wedding, I went to find Ninghua, begging her forgiveness for breaking my promise. Ninghua refused to see me. The attendants at the princess's residence said she had already gone to sleep, but I heard sounds of merrymaking coming from inside the room. I stood outside the princess's residence for a long time. If only I hadn't married Lin Qingwan. If I had married Ning Hua instead, then tonight, the person by her side would have been me. After returning, the Lin Qingwan I saw was exactly as I had imagined, just like every other woman in the capital, obedient and virtuous. For a long time, she left no real impression on me. My mother urges us to consummate the marriage. Ninghua has gone to the battlefield. I have no intention or desire to consummate the marriage with Lin. Granting her the honor of being a Madam Shen is already a great privilege in her eyes. She will never know that it's not me at night because she is an obedient and considerate woman. I told her I don't like to talk and that my eyes are sensitive to light, so she won't light any lamps at night, and that attendant of mine has a figure quite similar to mine. Soon, Lady Lin became pregnant. My mother was overjoyed. I feel neither sadness nor joy, only a sense of relief, as if freedom is within reach. To prevent any complications, I executed my attendance later. I did something absurd. I brought back Ninghua's posthumous child, but I do not regret it. At the time, I had no idea how much I would one day despise the person I was becoming. Lin She passed away, having spent decades by her side. I am not someone without feelings or loyalty, it's just that my love was all given to Ning Hua. Lin Qingwan was a qualified wife of the Shen family, and she raised Huayan very well. I have a cold temperament, and she never made unreasonable scenes. Ning Hua was as fiery as the morning sun, while she was like the shadows of trees in the forest, or a gentle breeze beneath the corridor. Unremarkable, yet deeply comforting. When she died, I was just outside the room. I don't know why I don't want to go in, or perhaps I don't dare to, afraid to meet those eyes. If only Ninghua could live as long as you. After decades, the longing seems to have faded, yet it has become a habit. What I feel for Ninghua now seems more like regret than the love from back then. Lin Qingwan is no longer here, but my longing for her grows stronger and stronger. When she was here, we hardly noticed. After she left, shadows of her seemed to be everywhere in the courtyard. I fell so ill that I could not rise, and I sealed off her residence. Why does this happen? I remember many years ago, when my mother discovered my feelings for Ning Hua, I simply came clean. She raised her eyebrows in astonishment. You, on the other hand, are different from your father. He is emotionally dull. It wasn't until several years after we married that he told me, enough, I won't say more. Perhaps mother wasn't wrong. I am also a slow-witted person, mistaking admiration for talent and longing for love, but now it's far too late for anything. I couldn't even stop Huayan from having Ninghua and me buried together. Enough, enough. What face do I have left to see Qingwan? If only I could have a chance to start over, I would personally propose to the Lin family, fetch back the young Qingwan, and with 3 bows and a red candle and silk canopy, our descendants would be many, and we would have a lifetime of happiness.